My guest this episode is a highly regarded seminal Irish DJ. From his mixtape roots to gigs up and down the country, he's a widely recognised name in Irish dance culture. At this stage, I've known him for over half my life, and in that time he served as a great mentor and also a great friend. This is DJ Pressure. Music with you is something that's kind of shaped your life. It's almost kind of an addiction more so than a hobby, because I've seen the lengths that you go to for certain things. But growing up, was there music in the house with your parents, or did this come, like, you know, in your teenage years?
There wasn't really music in my house. I liked some of the ABBA, Neil Diamond, that type of stuff, you know, the greatest hit stuff that they'd play in the house. So, but I suppose my first real musical memory was I was 8 or 9 years old. I was down in Mosney and Butlins with my football team that I played for, and I was playing a tournament. We were staying for a week for a holiday. But I was walking by the casino, and I just remember hearing Our Friends Electric, Gary Newman, and the Tube Army. And I just stopped in the tracks was walking by, and I was just drawn back towards the here. I don't know, something happened. It was spiritual awakening of it or something like that. But and then when we got back to Dublin, that was the first record I ever bought in Eason's. They used to have the record shop in the basement in Eason's. The 7-inch single with the little sticker over the top saying, to prove it hadn't been played, it was a new copy. But so that was my first memory. And then I think Blondie or something, Atomic was the next thing I bought.
Pretty credible taste at a young age.
Absolutely. You know, what a tune to start with. Like, I mean, it's probably still in my top 10 of all time, you know.
And what age were you then?
I would have been about 9, 10, something like that, yeah.
Okay. And like a lot of people kind of have that dance music discovery in their late teens, but prior to that for you, say when you kind of start sneaking out and going out when you're like 16 and stuff like that, what was kind of like clubbing and socialising to you before going to like proper dance clubs or anything like that?
Okay, well, dance music hadn't really evolved at that stage.
What year are we talking here?
Okay, for when I start, 40 years ago from today, so whatever, 78, something, right?
Okay, yeah, so late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, sort of the tail end of the punk era, yeah, and at the late 70s. Basically, I used to pal around with a lot of guys, a few people from Fox Rock and Black Rock and that, and we were posers, I suppose. It was like our whole social life, which was, I think, a thing back in like the 70s and 80s and that, when people maybe didn't have as much money and that, people flocked together into certain social groups, mods and rockers in the 60s type, and then you'd hippies and punks or whatever in the 70s. But we were all goths and cure heads and sort of tail end punk stuff. But looking back to Joy Division and bands like that, like really credible stuff, like, but there was that as added bonus that, like, we were part of a group then, who were all into music. Like, nobody really goes out now when they're 15 or 16, buys an album and goes home and sits in the room and listens to it over and over again with their friends, and this is like, living the dream stuff, It's very disposable now, but when I look back on my early music career, I was always credible. I didn't realise at the time why I liked certain stuff. But when I look back on it now, like, I knew what I liked, and I knew why I liked it, But so the dance thing so during my teenage years and stuff like that, I would have been a goth type of thing. I also had a mod / ska period as well before, and then obviously new wave in the 80s, Human League, Duran, well, not really Duran, but sort of the commercial end of things, but Soft Cell were pretty good as well, and then there was Flock of Seagulls and all that type of stuff, So I really like that music. I'm actually listening to a lot of it even now, and it was probably really the birth of dance music, I think. Electronic, that early keyboard stuff and that.
And a lot of that would have been big in the gay clubs at the time.
Exactly,
a lot of the best music comes
a lot
from.
of it comes from the gay. Actually, that's very true. Like, I mean, I remember like going to Heaven in London when we were staying over there for one summer when we were in school. But like it was a bit of a shock seeing open gayness. Was that over here? Nobody was gay back then because it was illegal. That type where nobody ever discussed it. But
nobody in inverted commas.
Yeah, exactly, and totally. Yeah, but we went to Heaven and the music was amazing. We obviously had your Depeche Modes and your Yazoos and Vince Clarke and all that type of like Heaven 17 and all. But so that's where music, and then I got into some sort of stadium rock. I love Simple Minds. I still do back then. A really credible band, but. Then I sort of went square for about a year, I'd say, like, where I was more.
What's square to you now?
Square would be you know, like just I don't know. It was like what's when somebody sort of maybe gets married these days, almost or starts having kids, and stops going out clubbing and says, you know, no, they were the good old days. You know, I had that period for about 6 months, maybe a year, and where, you know, my friends went to different colleges, and I started a job and things like that, where you couldn't go in looking like Robert Smith, you know what I mean? But so yeah, and then I just happened to be on a holiday with a friend of mine in London, and the whole dancing had just started there, you know, with Kiss FM and all this early stuff, and then obviously Stone Roses, the North, and Happy Mondays, that sort of.
So we're talking around the Summer of Love kind of thing, like 89, that kind of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would have been maybe just a bit later, about 90, okay. Early 91. So I went over to stay with him, and I was brought to a rave, the Crazy Club. In the Astoria on Tottenham Court Road at the bottom, you know, Oxford Street where it meets Tottenham Court Road, the Astoria at the venue there, but it's called the Crazy Club anyway, and it was just like.
Did it live up to its name?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know what to expect. For me, before that, going out would have been to see the Smiths or something at the SFX or something, or the Pogues at the SFX and things like that. That would have been, but like I didn't know what was going on. There was no electronic music, it's just pure. But we went there anyway, and it was just like life changing. You know, weekend I was over there, so I brought back home some cassettes they taped off the radio and things like that. I heard early Joey Beltram stuff like My Sound and all that, you know, and Frank the Wolf, you know, all that Joey Beltram copied and all. But and so yeah, I kept listening to it, and he used to send me over these cassettes and all this stuff, but it was just in my head morning, noon and night, and this music and the experience I'd had in the club. So I just happened to be in town one day, and I was walking down by Abbey Street, and I cut through the old Abbey Mall there, you know, and I was just walking by the little shop in the corner there, and I heard a song, and I just said, that sounds like a song that I heard when, you know, I was in London, you know what I mean? And I went in and I just said, is that song for sale? And he said, oh yeah, it was Billy Murray, you know, but he said, yeah, it is, yeah, and that song was, so the first dance track I bought was another exquisite choice, was Come Together, the Andy Weatherall mix, Primal Scream, you know, which is still a classic.
Fantastic track.
This is a beautiful day that we are together. But that one, and I also bought. There was another 12 inches there. I think it was called the Brain Crazy Mix or something of the same track as well, like that. And I bought the two of them, and I would have little money at the time, you know, but I because I just started in my job in the engineer's office and that, but. I left myself with like £1 for the whole week just to have them like that, and I just came home and I just kept playing them over and over and over again, you know. And so I am a vinyl junkie. There's no doubt about it. Like, I mean, I just posted on Facebook today that I paid €160 for a tune I've been looking for the last few years.
Which is funny because nowadays you go looking for tunes that you would have classed as rare years ago. Well, I would have anyway, and you'll see them going for like €2 and €3 and everything now, because the demand for vinyl isn't there as such. Like, there's white labels of unreleased things that I went looking for one, and I think I got it shipped over from Italy for £9. Now you're talking a different level of rareness to me, obviously.
Yeah. I have most of the good records. Well, I tended to break most of the good records over the last 25 years, so obviously I have the originals on vinyl, but there were certain things that I may have let slip or sold. Exactly when I stopped playing the break beats and stuff like that. It's almost like when I started playing the Asylum and got into the house/trance thing, it was almost like a shame. It was just crazy, you know. It was like, you know, that's over, let it go, it's not happening, you know, that type of way, and just concentrate on that, don't take up space. And then, like, you know, after you find your feet in the hole and you get a bit more confident, you just have to listen to something that you listened to years ago and you go,
it fits.
Yeah, it's like, you know why you liked it back then, and then you go, I made a mistake, you know. I mean, now, you know, I would have sold stuff in job lots just to get rid of, you know, like 50 breakbeat tunes or something into Outlaw Records that used to be in the Abbey Mall as well. They specialise in breakbeat stuff across from Abbey List there. He used to be around facing on Abbey Street, you know, just down past Wigwam there, you know. But that's where I actually used to sell the copies of Nikolai that I had for auction. Remember when Nikolai came out for I have them hanging up on the wall saying offers only, you know. Like, I bought 10 of them, you know, but like, geez, I must have made about 700 punts on them back.
Before we get to your whole addiction and stuff like that, you're now at the stage where you've just bought your 2 first records in what would be a long-lasting relationship with Billy and Abbey Discs.
Yes.
First few quid you ever put in over the counter.
Okay.
So how did that snowball into, like, we'll touch on becoming a DJ and the whole
that was never the aim anyway.
Yeah, it was never the intention. This was just a personal
yeah.
taste, and just records
excitement.
You wanted to have it on.
It was just an excitement, it was like a drug almost.
So which came first then? Did you start to buy more records, or did that run concurrently in time with, say, like the dance explosion and of electronic music in Dublin? How did that kind of...
It hadn't happened over here really. We're always a bit behind like the UK and stuff. Like we sort of bypassed like nearly the hardcore era, like of breakbeats and stuff like that London had, and it still does. But so basically, this was the beginning of what we call the acid. It was the acid house. It was like a bleeps and blops. It was a big mixed bag of stuff. You could have psychotropic hypnosis, which is pure acidy bleeps and blops. Beside, like FPI Project, everybody all over the world. There's stuff from Italy on flying records on media, and then you could have tunes like, I don't know. Total confusion in the mix as well, it's just those tunes that you just, but they all just seem to fit. Like the mixing of them by the DJs, not that anybody knows, was probably really ropey. I wouldn't have known at the time, it was like, wasn't an issue. You just heard the songs that you loved, So that was just all coming to, there was a big mixed bag of music, it was pure like a scene, a united scene, if you like, which is obviously split into different, little pigeonholes of people, like their thing and so whatever. But I never wanted to be a DJ. It was just the tunes, and I went in the following week into the shop when I got my wages, and I remember buying a tune called Cyclone, a place called Bliss. It was on Network Recordings, the first ever tune on Network Recordings. I heard it in this story, and this is, I don't know whether you know, it's quite rare, I believe. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere, it's Paul Van Dyk's favourite tune of all time.
Wow, okay.
Bizarrely, I never thought. But was it John Digweed? Maybe it was Paul Van Dyke.
What was it that drew you back to the shop? Was there just like a hunger there that you wanted to discover more music?
I want to read about everything, here's what I want,
Because obviously like the media wouldn't have been you wouldn't have been reading about tunes in magazines.
Oh, no, there was nothing. I didn't know at the time, but there was like the DFC, Dublin Funk Collective fanzine, more like a photocopy page. I didn't even know about it at the time. And then Mark Kavanagh had the Remix was the name of a fanzine here, and they were sort of like the different. They would have been ahead of me. I didn't even know they existed until obviously I got a bit more into the scene, But
so it was a case of rocking into Billy and saying, right, I bought these last week. What have you got? This week?
And he'd say, "Oh, try this," and then I remember there was a tune I'd heard in this story. It was the one tune that just stuck in my head, and just for the rest of my life, that was the tune. I just never didn't like it before, and it was just Lenny the Ice, we are .ie. It's just like a cowboy breakbeat track. It's just a slow breakbeat, just spin back gunshots and then just a chant going we are, but it's just like I said, I've never heard it was just like being in the jungle, man. I'd never heard anything like this before in my life, but I remember trying to explain it to Billy, and he said, "Oh, I think I got that record in that you were asking me about."
Or as the famous line to be, "I'll have it for you next Tuesday."
That's he only developed that later on, as he grew as well as a shop. But that was the tune.
And what was it? He had it in stock and everything.
Yeah, Billy wouldn't really know what his tunes were, and the distributor in the UK would probably just send him over a box on spec, see how you go with them, And he was selling them, you know what I mean?
And was Abbey Disc back then? Was it primarily just a general record shop that had a dance section?
No, they got a lot of work off what we'd call jobs worth, or discos, DJs, mobile discos or tamangos, or these, like playing all these, or these what do you call those mega mixes? They used to. I can't remember the name, but all that type of DJ, who'd be on the mic going, the bars are closing type of thing, But so you got a lot of work off them. So there was a dance sort of connection coming in, I think, with that, and then it was starting to come up in Dublin then as well. Like at this time, I hadn't never even been to sites. It was primarily, I had been there in '88 when I was a goth or something, and they were playing sort of the Smiths or whatever type of thing, and you get drunk and just fall around the place looking cool. But it turned into a gay club after that, and once again the gay scene brought in like the electronic sound from America or whatever, like from the gay clubs in America, So that's. So it's basically that combined with meeting a couple of girls one night in town, and we're talking to them we were in Judroy Beans, not Judroy Beans, the place on Nassau Street there. It's the Porterhouse now. Mm-hmm. There used to be like a disco upstairs there, but I can't remember the name. We went up there but they played like electronic music there, you know.
Okay.
I think it was Tommy Stewart might have been.
So would that have been your first electronic clubbing experience in Dublin?
Size, yes, absolutely. But that was like a starter, you know, because it closed really early. But me and my friend met two girls. I wanted to be chatting to them. They said, "Have you been down to Sides?" You know, we said,
"No." Oh, so hang on a second, because my understanding is where Sides is where the Mercantile is now. You were talking,
that's correct. Yes,
you were talking about a place where the Porterhouse.
Yeah, I know at the bottom of Grafton Street.
Yeah, I know that. But would that place have been your first electronic experience? Club?
Yes, we went in downstairs as a pub, but if you bought a pint or something, you got free upstairs. Okay. But we went up afterwards. And I was surprised, like I was hearing some songs that I said, that sounds like something I might have heard in England. Some of the Italian, vocally, piano, house stuff, but still had that, you know, electronic feel to it. But and then I said, we met two girls. They said, you should come down. Have you tried the Sides? And we went down with them, and cause that was open later. And walked in, it was like, this was like a little corner of this Astoria, just right in Dublin, you know, really underground. They had all, you know, nets hanging out. It was it's a old school sounding now with the camouflage things hanging from the wall, and the music was just like, you couldn't see the DJ, there was nobody talking on a mic or anything. It was just like electronic music, you know, and that was the beginning for me. I think it would have been Liam Dollard and Mick Fitz and people like that were playing. Now, it was a gay club, but I think the straight population had got wind of it, and they started coming in, and it started going like the gay crowd stayed downstairs because there's two rooms, upstairs and downstairs. And they had television. There was more of a bar atmosphere, and then upstairs was like the smallest dance floor in the world. Actually, so it had like that. You know, we had some experiences there with Gary Clayle, you know, on the U Sound System. You know, Human Nature track that went to #1. A tune I really liked, but he was playing down there, and we said we'd go to see him because I loved that tune, but. I remember going down, and it's a tiny place anyway. His name says a sound system, so they carry their own speakers with them. You know, this is like Notting Hill Carnival, you know, on the floor.
Battle of the sound system.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, so when we arrived in, it was like these two big giant speakers on the floor. It was like and there was room for about 10 people to dance. You know, and we were all squashed like this, and if it wasn't bad enough.
So you were a regular attendee of Sides.
Early Sides, yeah.
And would it have become like a weekly thing with you, or?
Oh yes, and it would have been getting like raided by the police. This would have been like, you know, outrageous in Dublin, because I remember standing in the queue outside, and like, you know, people walking by go, "What's going on here?" You know, this is like, you know, these young people enjoying themselves. You know, it's like, you know, call the bishop. You know. So,
and what was the hours of Sides? Was this one of those kind of setups whereby they ran till all hours because they didn't serve alcohol at the bar?
No, they did serve alcohol, a lot of wine and stuff like that. You know, the gay punters that go there and stuff. But I always remember, I think they used to show Futurama or something exclusive or something. They got it in from the States or something, you know, cassettes or VHS cassettes or something.
Probably would have been The Simpsons, I'd say, back around then, the early 90s.
Maybe it was The Simpsons, yeah. But there was some angle going on there with that, yeah.
Come see The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So, I think the hours would have been something like maybe 10 to 4 or something like that, yeah. But it felt like it was like, you know, 12 o'clock in the morning.
And would you have been there at 10 p.m? Like,
yeah, pretty much, yeah. And so would everybody else, you know. There was always a queue, you know what I mean? Like, waiting for the door to open, yeah. So
and, like, beyond Sides then, how did you kind of expand your club and adventures, so to speak, in Dublin? What came next? Or what
I think the Olympic Ballroom sort of was happening around that time. It wasn't the Olympic that Mark Cavan and that. I think it was DJ Jerry or something like that. I think that was his name. But I think there was a couple of nights ran there. Johnny Moy, I think, ran a couple of nights there with David Holmes and people like that, you know. And then I think a man who owned the venue started running them themselves, and I think Mark came in then, you know, the whole and that was their angle, you know. So I went there a few times and that, you know, that was probably better than Sides because it was a big room, you know. It had more of a sort of rave feel to it, you know what I mean. So I think he was an ex-guard as well, so so his old buddies wouldn't, you know, be annoying him.
The Copperface Jacks.
Yeah, big time, yeah. That's the way of calling it. But anyway, so that was that. And then basically, I was collecting. I would have had maybe 100, 200 records at that stage. But I never wanted to be a DJ. I was quite shy in that time. You know, I just liked making tapes for myself, not mixing, just recording them. You know, pressed it on
a single turntable, I'd imagine. Because I doubt you.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah, on a hi-fi stereo, stack system, something like that. You know, but just putting songs on that I liked, you know, and then we could play them.
Mixtapes, yeah.
But they weren't mixed.
Yeah,
they weren't
course,
mixed, you know.
In the truest sense, though,
yeah.
like the,
but you sometimes you actually had to play and put the speaker beside the speaker of the recorder and record, you know, externally. You know, I was recording internally.
Yeah.
And I always remember making, you know, like songs on. It was like, shh. And next thing you know, I'd hear, you know, because I lived in my old family home, but my mum had her own place and she had a key, and I would just remember recordings up. Next thing you'd hear, Robert, called them upstairs, and they come out on the tape, and think, no, day's work done. Yeah. So that's how primitive it was. But in the end, anyway, I ended up buying 2 turntables and a mixer of Sounds Around up in Cable Street.
Sorry about my first decks too.
Yeah.
Set of cams.
Yeah, but I was stung. I didn't know anything about mixing. I just knew it was cross-edge, so it continuous music. There was no like beat mixing. But these were 2 Sony turntables with no pitch controls. They were basically 2 hi-fi separates for that put together. I didn't even know what mixing was. You know what I mean?
What inspired you to go down that? Was it just from seeing these DJs in the club and you thought it was the done thing? Or
I was having to get away from my mum calling Robert up and having 2 different systems, you know, taping them in the air, if you like, you know. So that was all, just so to make the tapes better.
So you wanted them just to make tapes for your friends and for yourself?
Yeah, that's it, you know. And the usual, you know, like, you should be playing there, you have better songs. It's how every DJ probably gets started or gets, you know, delusions of grandeur, or that they're God's gift, you know what I mean, of musically, but... So, that's what I got initially, you know, and I used to just fade things in and out at the end, you know, with string at the end, just so it'd be like continuous but not mixed, you know, the type of way. Like, there were people, like, now, but I were actually trying to get the beat mixing thing going, you know, like, and they would have been more advanced than me, but that was the start of it anyway, yeah.
So that was your first set of decks, and how long between having your first set of decks and, say, becoming involved in the DJ scene, I guess what I'm asking is how long between first acquiring the decks and first playing out in a club, your first proper DJ gig?
Okay, right.
How did it come about?
Okay, when we first, so I just had these decks and that was it, and then the usual, you know, my friends, like, we were having a party after the club or something, saying, oh, you should be playing blah blah blah. So in the end, somebody had a set of Technics. I don't know where they got them from, but they said he won't be around for a while. I think he might have been at his manager's service or something like that. And I got a set of Technics for nothing, you know. Wow. Yeah, and
how long after this, like, that you bought the initial turntable?
3 months.
Okay.
3 months. Gratefully accepted, you know, and then I used to. I remember I used to see. Did you ever Dave Moore? Do you ever remember Dave Moore? He's you probably wouldn't know him, but Dave Moore, he was sort of an early techno DJ, you know. And, he used to play in the Olympic as like a guest and that. Nice fella. I started meeting him in the record shops and stuff like that, you know. But the original Banana Boys, you know, would have been Dave McDonald, and the other lad's name escapes me. Oh, he's a real nice guy. He lived out in Leixlip, but he could mix. Okay. And I remember going out to his house, like, you know, just listen to music and all.
So these were kind of record store relationships.
Exactly. Everything came from Abbey Disc, you know, just chatting to somebody, you know, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. As I said, I never wanted to be a DJ, you know what I mean? Like, but I just wanted to be able to...
You just loved the music.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to learn how to mix for myself, to mix it. Like, my personality taught me getting up on the stage, like, you know, that, you know... It's just beyond, like, I'd just die on the spot of my heart attack. I was so shy, you know. I know it's hard to believe now when people see how confident I am. But, so anyway, so basically, I was in Abbey Disc one day, and Billy Scurry used to buy records then and all, and he said to me, he's asked me now to do a 21st, but he can't because he has something else on, right? And he said, would you be interested in going 21st, playing at 21st in... Donamead Sports and Leisure Centre, you know, Donamead obviously, and you get 50 quid, and you know, basically the normal 21st, and then like at 10 o'clock you get all the granny bashers out, and the lads put on all their tracks. What those old tracks used to wear? They're so crap looking.
The old shell suits, like.
Yeah, but they're real old. There was one make American, they had like American.
Fila.
No, way before that. It was soft. Get the name of them. Awful looking thing. I would never wear one, thank you. But anyway, that was the angle they put on there, you know, like, looked like Damo and Ivor that time, you know, like, but anyway, and then the lads would all come out and you could play that type of electronic music. So that was my first gig, and there was also a gig on the same night that I had the ticket for in the Mansion House. It was Cyclone's own Marcus O'Neill, I didn't know anything, but so I did played at the 24th, and it was great. I really enjoyed it and got paid. You know what I mean? So,
and were you able to mix at this point, or was it just...
No. And it would have been still Italian stuff and early breakbeat stuff like Badman and things like that. Yeah, but it went well, and you know, it was grand. That was all good. But so I got the taxi into Mansion House, and so I had my records with me in like the scabby, cheapest looking piece of shit of a record box. You know, like those old fold out folders that you used to have like for putting files in offices. You know, they have the little clip button.
Of course,
yeah. You know, they made of paper or something. I don't know. Anyway, I had them in that, so I was walking into, and I went to put them into the cloakroom, and this guy says, "You DJ?" You know, guy behind the cloakroom. And he says, "Yeah, sort of." Again, and he was going, "Oh, yeah, you must get me a tape and all that, Marcus and all this type of thing." And so that's where I first met him, and I got a tape to him.
So the promoter was working in the cloakroom at the time?
No, checking out like everything was going. Like this was like back in the day when you opened the doors, the place was sold out. You know, people were dancing like waiting to get a mile away, waiting to get in. You know, with their backpacks on and their baseball hat. But so yeah, he just happened to be in there when I was putting it in. So I got a cassette I'd made, no mixing on it. It would have been just like faded in.
Yeah, just a sample of the music you were into.
Yeah, no, it was actually one of the tapes I'd made for me and my friends to listen to, you know, and I got it to him, but and I just remember about 2 weeks later, late at night, I got a phone call just on the ye olde house landline phone.
Yeah. Robert, there's a fella on the phone for you.
No, I was living here on my own with my granddad at the time, but no, I think he was on my own, but anyway, I had a house phone, I got a phone call, I picked it up and I just heard, you know, 50,000 hardcore members, 60,000 song, so crap. But I used it because it said hardcore members.
Yeah.
Breakbeat, early breakbeat. I still have it actually. But Manic, the name of the band. We made a few singles out of it. But your man had heard Marcus. It was him. Had heard the song and he thought it was brilliant. He said, "We're going to play at my next gig in the Mansion House," you know. So that was like. Wow, you know what I mean? Like, so
you'd only done one gig at this stage, and that was the 21st in Donamead, and instantly you're into like one of the most popular nights in Dublin.
Yeah, playing with Fabio, Groove Rider, Mickey Finn, you know, but just the venue. I loved the venue. No, I couldn't mix back then, but I had good tunes because a friend went to bring back and forward to London, and I used to go to them sometimes and like go to, you know, Camden and Black Market and get the top of the range, early hardcore breakbeat stuff. Because when I was playing with Fabio and Groove Rider, like obviously I was on first and that, but I played probably, if I played for an hour and a half, I would have played maybe 8 to 10 tunes that they played as well. Okay. At the time, you know. I was, but like even they weren't mixing them.
Really?
Same breakbeats at the end, yeah. That's how primitive it was.
Explain something to me. I'm kind of showing my young age here now in comparison.
Look at you.
Like a lot of the famous Dublin clubs, I'm kind of aware of where they were and whatever. The Mansion House is something that always seems peculiar to me, because right now all I know is the Mansion House is
restaurant.
The home of like the mayor in Dublin or the Elvis or whatever, and there's a restaurant.
That was the home of rave back then. You know?
And it's like the same building, like as in on Dawson Street.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember that. You came in basically from Dawson Street and just like that. It seems bizarre now, like I mean that, but you could rent it out, like, you know. And
okay, so it was like a function room.
Yeah, you big, you know, lovely ceiling. Well, actually closed. There was other dates booked and all. I did about 4 gigs there.
And was it like the residence of the mayor of Dublin at the time then?
Oh yeah, he's in the house at the side. It's like the ballroom sort of to the left. You know, as you look to the left.
Hell of a contrast there.
I know. Yeah, big time stories that came out of that place. Like I mean. You know, I think 2 Unlimited were playing there. I was playing with 2 Unlimited there as well. Cyclone Zone. We had the Prodigy up the road as well with SL2 as well in McGonagall's. You know, later became the System. Number 23. Just a bit further up there, like me, the Prodigy, SL2 and all. This is like I still have the flyers and all. You know, that would have been the first sort of Cyclone Zone as well outside of the Mansion House. We had them up there as well. We'd alternate in the Mansion House as well. But the roof falling in one night.
Okay.
And it was old, hadn't been, but it had to be closed for a year to get all this, you know, back to its original finish and all this. So they sort of after that, then rave was getting a bit of a, you know, bad name rep, you know.
Headlines,
so like I mean, they have the corporation and all the, you know, the legal, all the legal arms that were, they just didn't want to know, basically, you know what I mean? Like,
just in line with that, like this dance explosion had obviously started then in Dublin, like its sides, you had the Mansion House,
Olympic Ballroom
as well. How much of this do you think was populated by people who were in love with the party inside of it, the drug side of it, as opposed to being fans of the music? Because that's something I've often
found.
That's
a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question.
It's something I've often found that, like, you know, when you see people who are into going to these dance music festivals, these dance gigs, are they in love with the music, or are they in love with the lifestyle and the partying that comes with it?
They're in love with the movement, being part of the movement, a fresh new movement. In times of, you know, economic downturns and that type of thing, that's when you get your best music and youth, you know, like youth movements that just, like the 60s and stuff like that, when you had the Beatles and the Stones and all, you know, that, like the young, it was all, that's when people have no money to do anything else and they're angry. They make better music. It's the punk thing as well, you know what I mean? But that's, like, so that's where the popularity of electronic music came from as well. And then obviously there was the added thing of the drugs and stuff like that, you know. But it was just, like, you'd have people from, you know, the wealthiest parts of Dublin with the people from, you know, the poorest parts like that, and they'd just be there, like, they knew brothers and sisters. It was just all about, like, you know, being part of it. I think it was just a perfect cocktail, you know, and to be part at the beginning of something that it was like, you know, something that was changing the world. We didn't realise how much, like, I mean, within 2 years, like, I mean, the top 10 tunes in the British charts were all dance tunes, you know.
And to coincide with this explosion and obviously the use of illegal drugs and things that were fueling it a lot of the time, what was the reaction and attitudes of the law like?
Pathetic. It's just like typical. It was just you might as well. Ireland wasn't governed by a political party; it was governed by the church, or, you know, the bishop. It was just like, talk about, like, all the money and time and effort wasted trying to, you know, make people out to be criminals because they're enjoying themselves, you know. It's like, while obviously at the same time there was children being industrially raped by these bastards, you know, at the same time. So and yet they were there because people were there enjoying themselves, and they're losing control. That's what it was. And this is where we've come today, where being gay is not illegal anymore. You can get married, you know, you can be yourself, you know. It's like, you know, women have freedom of their own bodies at last, you know what I mean? Like, and good riddance to a lot of them. You know, they've held this country back for too fucking long, you know what I mean? So I think they died the day when the Eighth Amendment was passed, you know. But basically, it was like living in black and white time. Like, you walk down the street, because you're going to a rave, you're a criminal.
An outcast.
An out criminal. A lot of stories I could tell you, like, you know, we had an not just the asylum, and jump forward, but, like, I mean, I remember being in there doing a bit of work during the week. My friend Paul was the manager there. He was doing a bit of painting or something. Just called in, you know, but we play a few tunes, like, just in the DJ box on the monitors and all this. And next thing is banging on. This is 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon or something, you know, and you could see it was the police and all this. We didn't answer the door, you know, like, and. Then later on, like, there was a television in there. They had put the police had bought the special Mariah type thing with a camera on the top of it. You know, this was the first one in the country. It was parked outside the asylum with the camera focused on the front door, and it was on the RT News as the lead item at 6:00.
And what was the?
And we were still inside in the fucking place. You know, it's like, you know, just because this is a club that's, like, you know, not doing what they're told to do, you know. Because there was no alcohol sold. They had, like, a theatre licence, I believe, which allows you to stay open as long as it's a members club, private members club. Basically, it was a legal way around to say, fuck you, you know what I mean? We're not going to bed when you want to, because, you know.
And we'll come back to the asylum in a minute, but when you're saying that it was the lead report on the RT News, you're saying that, like, this was when the club was on. This wasn't you playing tunes on a Tuesday afternoon.
No. Okay. This was, like, you know, the state's response.
Once it had a bit of notoriety.
Oh, basically. Yeah, big time, yeah. Like,
okay. So we're still at the Cyclone Zone stage. You've done a number of gigs.
In the Mansion House and that, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, was it mainly Dublin based at this time, or had you kind of?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I was DJ Rob / E, right? I mean, I know. Oh, for the shame, you know. But you know, these are the days when it used to tunes like Rosella, Everybody's Free, and all, like, were, like, cutting edge, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was amazing, you know, like, what a piece of shit. But and things like Blockbusters, Give Me Another E-Bob, you know, that thing, Give Me Another E-Bob, you know, I was just like, I thought this was like, you know, it was so cheesy, just like, you know, wearing the, you know, this. We belong to this thing, you know, with these silly, childish, stupid songs, with silly little things. But it was part of the learning process, I suppose, you know. But
would you have been considered as, like, a resident of the Cyclone Zone, or did you just play every couple of gigs?
No, I sort of became a resident there, you know. I sort of own it now. Another part, my partner Marcus. But yeah, it was basically, I was sort of entrusted with. Yeah, I suppose I would technically be a resident, but and, like, my, you know, ever developing musical opinion and, you know, knowledge, which was still very primitive at the time, you know, I just suggest things, and you know.
And could you mix at this stage? Could you actually beat match?
When did I would have started mixing? Yeah, I would have started about. This would be about I could and then like I mean because the first day I discovered like the third ear in my head that made me listen to the two things at the one time, you know, there was that eureka moment, you know, from being looking blind into a field to all of a sudden like having x-ray vision, even though I wasn't mixing right, I knew what I was doing wrong, so then it was down to practice, you know, and after that was then artistic flair of how you present. I had an idea of how I'd like to present music, you know. Some people are full on, you know, the noisier the better. I'm more of like, you know, the best mix is the one you don't hear. You know, that's the way you have a start point and a finish point, and you start, you know, everything in between. You just try and, like, I always thought, you know, you don't hear music, you see it. You know, if you see it, you can see what you'd like, the way you'd like to present it, you know, as God intended, as they say, type of thing. But, like, I just became, like, I didn't realise how good I became, just sheer fear of failure. I practiced and practiced and practiced, you know what I mean? Fear of failure, not fear, you know, not looking for success or to get somewhere. It was like, so I didn't get bottled, you know, I could get out, you know what I'm saying? It didn't clear the floor or anything like that, you know? So this was the DJ Rob E era, you know? But,
what came then once the Mansion House had closed? Were there cyclone zones in other venues after that, or did it kind of die a death with the Mansion House?
I know. Basically, it was sort of we did other gigs as well. But what happened then was with that was I was still playing breakbeat, at that stage. No, there was no demand for breakbeat in Dublin or Ireland, type of thing, you know. I could tell you another funny story if you want to, just right around it if you got time. Basically, you know, I said earlier, Ollie Dowling used to have these the fanzine, DF Dublin Funk Collective. He would have had a couple of, like, stable of, you know, DJs, like Latin Wolf, and there was a couple of other heads around. But they did a little, like a report where one of them would go to like a club, like obviously site, and they'd listen to a DJ playing and like mark it out, like, you know, 10 and all this stuff, give their opinion on it. But I always remember I went, a friend of mine got me a gig in there, Liam Dollard, you know, it was warm up slot, you know, to play. But I was playing, would have been playing breakbeat, hardcore, but well known sort of stuff. I wouldn't have been full on drum and bass, but I played, and then I didn't claim to mix at the time, but I was reviewed that by Latin Wolf, you know, Barry Mullen. I know Barry well now, but at the time, so and I got 1 out of 10, the worst one of the whole year, you know, like that type of thing. And it was like,
and was that based on technical skill or music selection?
Oh yeah, both, because you know, it wasn't that type of crowd. Like, I mean, people knew I was on early enough and all this type of thing, you know. But I didn't even want to do it. It's just my friends like, come on, I know somebody, blah blah. I get you in, so. Yeah, when I read it, I was like, oh, you know, I found out, you know, I knew what I was and where I was, you know, I wasn't trying to be it, but I just always laughing at it now. It was like when I became like the best mixer in the country and fucking raised the standards, like you know. So what was the next step then after the Cyclone Zone? Asylum, really. The Asylum, yeah.
This was the Asylum on O'Connell Street, or just off O'Connell Street?
Yeah, just off of Suffolk Street. It's called. It's down the side of Cleary's, on the Abbey Street side, if you like, down there where all the taxis park there, you know. Just but that I knew a guy and I hadn't seen it for a while, blah blah. But the Asylum opened originally, I believe. I remember hearing about it, but it was called something else, and somebody else was running it, and it was a disaster area, like, you know, 2 men and a dog if they're lucky, you know. And I think this friend of mine, Paul, was down there one night. You got chatting to the guys, and I think they were looking to sell, if you like, you sell the lease or whatever. And he reckoned, because, you know, he had been around the dance scene, he could
make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen, basically. So he went in and done it. Now, I hadn't seen Paul in ages, but basically I met his partner a couple of weeks later, and he was saying, oh yeah, we're doing this, blah, blah, come down. And also I went down one night, and it was horrific. It was like, I don't know, I won't name names, but they were playing like breakbeat hardcore in this confined space, and like it was just, the music was too loud, it was too fast, and there was like 20 people in the place. It was like, you know,
it wasn't suited to the vibe.
It was not suited to the vibe at all. Like, now I knew most of the songs they were playing, you know what I mean? Like, but
time and place,
they were just
basically
chopping them across loud. It was almost like they thought they were, you know, at a DMC mixing championship or this type of thing. But so I was talking to him down there anyway, and at this time I'd started buying, you know, I was in Abbey District, and I might hear a song, a trance or a house song. Wouldn't even give them labels and said, that's a nice break, you know, here in the background. I might just buy it to listen to myself, you know what I mean? Not as any claim to fame or anything like that, but breakbeat was still my thing. But he came back one night and I played him a few of the tunes. He's going, could you make a set out of them and come down and play in the club, you know? And I was like, oh, I don't know, it's not my field of expertise. Now I could mix breakbeat back and it's like shit hot, you know. I listen back to them now, man, and like Groove Rider, Fabio, and like that. Like I've heard people like who've been on the scene in London all saying like they're mixing out this world, you know. And the first breakbeat one tapes that I made, breakbeat pressure 1 to 6 and all this thing. But like I have listened back to some of them now. I just can't believe how good I was back then. All that soon, you know.
And how long had you been DJing at this stage? Like how long, say, from your first gig to now joining the Asylum?
Well, 2 years, something like that. Okay. Maybe 2.5 years, something like that.
And how often had the Cyclone Zone gigs been running in the Mansion House?
They were quite close together, maybe once every 2 months type of thing, and one at New Year's Eve or whatever.
Special occasions.
Yeah, there were events, like, you know, I think the Olympic and sides and all, they were sort of weekly clubs, but this was like, you know, the point depot of the dance, you know, because it's a lovely venue and the whole.
Before we get into the Asylum going proper, you touched on the tapes there. My earliest memory of hearing your name, I would have been about 13 or 14, and I remember, like, for some reason, Carl Cox was always the name, and still is to an extent, to be at the pinnacle of DJing. But it was Carl Cox and DJ Pressure tapes, and I used to hang around with a friend, and his older sister was kind of involved in that scene a little bit. Maybe she was about, you know, we were 13, she was like 16, 17.
Which is 20 years older when you're that age.
Exactly. Yeah. And her and her boyfriend were into it, and I remember there being like 2 tapes on the rounds, and I had copies of both, and one of them was Carl Cox live in Belfast, and then the other was a DJ Pressure tape. Now, I couldn't tell you what Pressure tape it was because it was just a blank that had been copied, you know.
Okay. You know that's illegal as well, so you'd be hearing more.
It's forever been lost.
Have your confession.
Forever been lost to the sands of time, that tape. But to my mind...
Was it house or was it breakbeat?
I haven't a clue, Rob. I was 13, 14, I don't know. But like a lot of my friends as well from like DJ circles that I would have come up with always credit Pressure tapes for being their first introduction to proper dance music.
And that's true.
Your tapes have kind of like, to me, I don't know of anybody else who was releasing tapes around then. Was it a common thing, and how did
not for Irish DJs? Do you want a quick story how it started?
Of course.
Well, basically, I used to go into Music Power. You know, it used to be in the Halfpenny Arcade. You know, the Halfpenny Bridge Arcade there. Breakbeat stuff. They used to come in on a Wednesday. Fred used to go over on the Monday and pick up a load of tunes, put it in a box and drive back to Holyhead, and we'd be waiting outside at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning because you'd get 2 copies straight, you know. But anyway, and I remember we used to buy the odd cassette, like Groove Rider live here, or Mickey Finn, or, you know, this type of thing from Fantasia and all these big raves around England. No. But I remember, like, because so we'd be listening out for tunes that we liked. You say, I must try and get that one, you know. So if you heard the record, you go, that's on that thing, get that, you know what I mean? Because we were still learning, you know what I mean? They didn't know what we liked. We were being told, you know, the big names that we liked. But I remember listening to some of them sometimes saying, like, if there's 20 songs on that cassette, I have about 16 of them on vinyl, you know, the type of way. And I was learning how to mix and stuff like that. And I started, like, listening to them sometimes and go, like, I can mix those same tunes better than like what I'm hearing. And I wasn't saying I was this, that, and the other. You know, my humility would never allow me to do that. But so one day I was in Music Power and I just said to Fred, I said, you know, if I made a cassette, a breakbeat, I had one made, I said, and I gave it to you, would you try, if I gave you 3, would you stick them up? Maybe I might sell them or something like that. And if you sell one, you can give me 1 tune. They swap, like, type of thing. He said, yeah, bring. So I brought him in 3 of breakbeat Pressure 1. That's where the pressure came from, because I was DJ Rob, but you had these series of, in England, series of Dreamscape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
So I just wanted it now, so I came up with breakbeat Pressure, right?
Yeah.
Thought it sounded pretty cool, like, you know, it does actually sound pretty. But so I just had this my girlfriend at the time, Sharon, just made up this. This was primitive computer days, you know. She did it real, like, you know, just almost like typing on it, just a white breakbeat Pressure on it. But I gave him 3 anyway, and that was on a Wednesday or something. I came in the next day and I just looked up on the racks to see what there, and there's only 1 of them left. I said, "Where's the 2? I sold 2 of them." I was like. And I was telling the story to a friend recently, but it was just like the proudest moment of my life. It was just I can't believe it was like, you know, even though I never sold, nothing happened after that. You know what I mean? I was so proud of that moment. You know what I mean? Like, and I said, geez, maybe I'm not as shit as I think I am. You know, and then I realised how fucking good I was. That was the problem. You know.
And were there other DJs in Ireland doing this at the same time?
No, not at all. So nobody knew who they were. You know the type of, you know, and I was just thinking of a way of getting some of the use out of the tune, like, but it wasn't to spread a name, because it was just Breakbeat Pressure 1, 2.
But even like residents in other clubs of like sides and things like
Lean Dollars or whatever, that type of.
Were they selling tapes too?
No, not to my knowledge. No, not to my knowledge. So no, it's just all the usual, names from England and that type of thing. So anyway, so that was grand. And then he said, bring us in another 5. And I brought him in 5 more. And when I went in, like, the day after that, like, there was 1 left. I was like, this is a stampede at this stage, So he said, bring me in 10, And, so like, I brought in 10 like that, and I sold like 8 of them like in one day or something like that. So I made up a new one, Breakbeat Pressure 2, and we just bringing, and they're getting more and more. They're selling all this, and it came at the same time then as the Asylum, when I started playing house/trance, in the Asylum, and then so I made a tape, House Pressure 1, to throw in, which give them a lash as well, like that. And that was the birth of it then, And then, like, obviously, like, it was an overnight success in after 2 weeks in the Asylum, It was like, I went from nobody to being, like, supposed to be the most professional DJ in the country, both mixing-wise, music-wise, and fan base-wise, And that's where I changed my name from Rob to Pressure after when I started headlining.
In many ways, it's kind of like it was a real grassroots thing, and you're almost like the way DJs now use Facebook and likes and fan pages and stuff. Like, you were out there self-promoting.
But no, I wasn't self-promoting myself. It was just like like it was just the music initially. You know what I mean? It was just, I don't know. It was like seeking approval, but my name wasn't even on the first breakbeat ones and that. And the House Pressure thing came from like I couldn't imagine where it was going. Like when you go from that, like to like a month later, you're selling 500 cassettes a fucking week. You know what I mean? Like,
and was it at that number?
After 3 weeks in the Asylum like that, I would sell 300 or 400 cassettes in the Asylum at the end of the night. I'd have queues, like a 400 people queue every night when the lights went on at 8 o'clock in the morning, like that. Autographs. I was selling cassettes with just one song on it. Do you know that song "Beautiful Morning"? It tended to be the last song. It would have been quite shit now, but it was quite different good back then. But just to put that, I'll give you a $5, you just record that one song onto a cassette for me, things like that, And then when the first person asks you for an autograph, then you're there going, "Hang on a minute,"
it's getting a bit mad.
No, just thinking, I'm just Rob, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like, I was still very shy at the time and all this, and it was almost. So I remember even Dilly was saying to me at the time, like, fucking take that out of the dance scene over here, you know what I mean? Like,
Dilly was, of course, a DJ from Northern Ireland who used to MC.
He was a resident there before me, and he was a big influence and a big inspiration on me from the changeover from the breakbeats to the brilliant tunes that he had contacts with the North. They were ahead of the game musically, record shops, early Frankfurt IQ records, things like that. But so he would introduce me to tunes. He'd come down one week and I'd be like, what are you playing? He'd play something like Jam Spiel and Follow Me, and I'd just be there in the DJ box going like, it's the best fucking tune I ever heard in my life, man. You gotta give me that record, sell it to me. And he would always give it to me,
Okay.
And but like, it just, the whole world opened up, and all of a sudden I just didn't care about my breakbeat records. It was like, this is the way I want to hear music. Like, it wasn't just all about the beats. It was like the music, the break. I'm a very stringy type of guy because I don't dance. I know what I like, and I know, like, I tend to have a exquisite taste in music, and it's spotting a tune like through a desert storm, that type of way. Or like, I know what I like, and it tends to. A lot of people tend to agree with what the tunes down there that I've picked, and obviously everybody wouldn't agree with that. But so that's where it came, and then there was an incident one night. But I just initially, when I was asked to play by my friend Paul, the manager there, I said okay. After, I was really nervous, and I bottled it the first night. I just didn't turn up, and he was knocking at my door, and I was sitting in the dark hiding it, and he came to me later in the week. He said, "You're not doing that again this week." So he dragged me in, and I said, "I'll do the first 2 hours when there's nobody there, so there's no pressure on me, excuse the pun, but and like blah blah." So I went in, I played, and I was happy, and there was a few people asking, said, "Who's your man? He's pretty good." I go, "That's Rob, and but about 3 weeks later, I was happy with that. Warren went on after me, Warren K, and then Dilly was on last, because Dilly had won the DMC, Northern Ireland DMC area competition, with his...
But Dilly also used to MC as well, is that right?
Yeah, but that's, like, I mean, I've never picked up a mic in my life, like in the club, I wouldn't. I mean, I hate listening to my own voice. It is bad, I hate looking at myself in the mirror, but, but it was just like, you tended back then to, like, if they thought maybe... the punters were a bit flat, but they weren't. You look at clubs today, and like, it's not flat. Just leave the natural energy, but be like, make some noise, this Asylum or something like that on the mic, and everyone go, yeah, and it'd be like, it's up again. It's almost like a visual thing. Looking at them, they could be deep into a song, but it's just like, it has to be hands in the air all the time. You know what I mean? Like that. You know, it has to for approval. You know, and even see some DJs now, like even no names that, like, but like, and they're looking at a crowd, and it looks flat, but like they have a problem with communicating with the crowd, even looking at them and just accepting that it's not flat. You know that's not going wrong. You know, the type of way.
It's just a locked in transcendental.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just like let the energy take control of your body. I think that's the name of the song. Let the music take control, but. It's just like I've learned that as well. I would have been like that in the beginning. Like, I mean, more than a minute or 2 minutes without a breakdown and some sort of uplift or something. Like, that's why I always ask, like, Dilly, go on, say something away, get the attention off me, that way. Like,
At this stage, you're now selling, like you said, a couple of hundred tapes a week. You're playing at the Asylum, which is probably at the forefront of dance music.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What did your family make of all this?
Well, that's a good thing. Like, I don't think they realised how big what was happening. You know the way it would have been like so you couldn't make money out of the music because my mum, I would have been an embarrassment to my mum when I was like a goth and stuff, because it would have been quite a traditional area I come from, working class area, whereas like if you weren't standing on the street corner, with the Irish hanging out your jeans outside the bookies, you know what I mean, like you looked anyway different, you know what I mean, like or didn't engage with them. You had the world was bigger than outside of the area you lived. It's like, oh, like he's weird, or the type of thing, or your haircut. You might have a funky got haircut or something. And like in Grafton Street and all these places, like you were the belle of the ball, but like you were a weirdo coming from there. So I think my mum would have she didn't like tension. That she's quiet and reserved, and like it would have been like, oh, bringing shame on the family. The type of way. And it's like. There's always that element, actually. I actually brought her to a mansion house once. Her and my dad.
Wow.
Early on the night they showed them. That way, and like, I think they were blown away by it. You know what I mean? They didn't ask me could I score them any yolks or anything like that. So yeah. So it would have been. I don't know. It's like. So how could he be that famous? The type of way, And even my own humility and modesty and shyness would have held me back from believing what was happening. The type of way, like when you get people coming to ask you, would they sleep with their girlfriends, or do you say that they slept with DJ Pressure? You just kind of go, what the fuck is going on, man?
That's rock star level stuff.
Oh, I know, yeah, but like I'm just Rob, the type of way.
And this happened. Once or twice. Get
that lie detector. Oh yeah, like I mean, Gareth just coming and pulling off the top, signed DJ Pressure across their chest at the end of the cyclones on in the arm and things like that. Mad stuff, or going into a party somewhere, seeing your photograph on the wall, you know what I mean? Like, in a frame and all, in a stranger's house, it's like, but it's only because of that. I would never have believed that I had any particular talent or, like it's exceptional. Like that. Once again, my modesty and shyness would, like, I'm not good enough to be like that, that's for other people, but it's only through that, like, mass sort of,
adulation.
Yeah, and like waves of love and that. Like, people just seem. I connected with the crowd because I had the standards, my fear of failure and the whole thing, like came out in my mixing as being like, really, really tight. I wasn't going to say check me out and really tight mix. It was like, well, you might like the tune that I play, but everybody's subjective about what song they like. But once my mixing is not a disgrace, well, then they can't stand there. I'd be thinking of other DJs, like wankers, basically, a lot of them, you know what I mean? Like, just. Sitting there waiting to judge you, that type of way. Because I remember one night deciding, the only time ever in this song, I lost one mix, and I knew it was a hard mix that I was attempting to do, but like I had limited choices of tunes back then in 6-8 hour sets at the end of the night. That's a long shift, and like trying to rearrange them every week with 4 new records in there, so people say, you done that mix last week, that type of way. Yeah. So like, you spend the whole week just trying to rearrange them, and like back then tunes were harder to mix because there were more, individual songs rather than, electronic battle weapons or, just, like cannon fodder for a war on the dance floor, disposable, if you like, mixing tunes. But anyway, so just one night, I remember the tunes and all the two that I lost, but one was the low pressing and one was quite a loud pressing, and, when they had them in the mix, I flicked over the headphones, so I reversed the mix, that type of way, mixing one in and one out, and I was listening to the ear, I couldn't hear the other one.
Oh, no,
and by the time I switched back again, she was gone. Okay. And I tried to pull it back. I knew it was gone, but there was no hope, and I just chopped it out and let it go. But a friend of mine got a phone call the next day and said, did you hear Rob lost the mix? That's how you decided. And like, the gas thing is, like, he's a little prick. I don't say his name, like, still, I always was a little prick, but jealous little fucker. But he never once rang and said, Rob's in here selling, 1,000 tapes. There's women throwing themselves at him, and he's just played an 8-hour set, and the place is fucking, on fire in here.
They just focused on
it's
that.
Just the way the woman saying that, the typical, sad little bitter person, But they were the type of people who would get to me. Do you know that type of way? And where I'd almost be like, it's the fear of failure, the fear of giving someone a reason to put you down. So anyway, that was what drove me. But as it turned out, that on top of them with you say the waves of the love and the crowd and that type of thing just drove the shyness out of me over the years, and where I was once shy, and now I'm extremely confident but never cocky, but I enjoy it a lot more now, because I interact with the crowd and I don't feel like people are judging me, I've proven myself, what I mean? So,
the Asylum is kind of one of those infamous Irish clubs that's always kind of spoken of in great lore. How long did the actual thing run for in that kind of period?
Well, when I started, I would have been there about, I suppose, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And then I left. It was starting to get a bit messy, so I'd start getting gigs in. I played with the Grid in the Ormond Multimedia Centre, just opened. Played with Atlantic Ocean for different promoters, yeah.
Okay.
And
you would have been doing stuff in Waterford as well, like in the Metro land.
That came sort of just all sort of came at the same time. Cyclone Zone came back. Then we ran a Cyclone Zone in the Ormond Multimedia Centre, and it was probably the most famous gig, sold out in 2 days or something like that.
With regards to the Asylum though, was it, do you think it deserved the infamous tag it had? Because one thing that always struck me was that they didn't serve alcohol in it. It was like a juice bar, and that's how, as you said earlier.
Yeah, well, nobody drank alcohol back then, you know what I mean?
It was all drug fueled.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, you know what I mean? But, you never seen fights, in regards to, you see now, look at today, you know what I mean? It's, it's dangerous out there in the streets, but there was a great unity between all sorts of, levels of people and class of people, it's just into that rave stuff, the atmosphere, the energy, it's part of this. It was just a new euphoric level of enjoying music, whether it was drug aided or, but the music was exciting back then, and it was different, and I suppose it was more of a, like a rebellion going on type, And
you mentioned as well, earlier about the Garda van being outside with their camera fixed on the club.
On the front door, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm making RT headline news. And, was this the kind of thing we spoke about your mum just a minute ago? Would this have reached them? Would they have been kind of what are you involved in here? Or did they ever question it?
No, that. I've never been in trouble in my life.
What age were you at this stage?
I suppose about 20, 21, something like that,
Okay.
But I was never a thug or into that type of thing. It would have been in the background, You'd be a coward, maybe, fear of getting caught, So I was just about the music. That's all it was with me. So there was none of that on me. It's none of my business what people want to do or take when they come onto a dance floor. Once they listen to the music and enjoy it or don't enjoy it, as the case may be. All I can do is just do my best and bring the music to them. But that was my level. But my mum wouldn't have said that. She wouldn't have been I didn't live with them for a start anyway, but it was I would have been just getting 150, 200 quid a week, for the thing on a Saturday,
And were you holding down a day job at the same time?
I know. When I came back from London, as I referred to earlier, when I first discovered the dance music, I was working in an engineer's office and building services course in Bolton Street and the whole lot of this, but it was a good job, lovely people and all this type of thing. But I just came back and I had a few quid saved up, because I didn't drink or smoke at the time, and I just gave it up. Just gave it up. Not to pursue a career, and it's just that's what I'm saying. It was life altering that night in the story in London. It's just it was like some sort of awakening in me. It drew me to this. I don't know what it was. It was like I'm not ready to settle down into life and get ready. You know what I mean?
Not ready to be that square.
Yeah, you're big on Peter Pan. I don't want to grow up. You know what I mean? I don't want responsibility.
Yeah.
And this is what that wasn't the reason that I was going that way. It was just so my mum and dad, it wouldn't be the type of say, oh, really proud of you. Everyone's talking about, everyone saying, is your son, famous DJ, and where you be chuffed thinking, she must be really proud of her. I make her proud rather than embarrassed when it was a goth or something like that. I think when she got really impressed was when the first time I played in the Point Depot, in 94 at Dance Nation, because I live in the area and stuff like that, and that is a big deal, so I ended up playing there 7 or 8 times, you know what I mean? every second week at some stage.
Just in keeping with the asylum, you would have been very much in the eye of the hurricane there. Do you think it deserved the kind
I
of
was
tag
the
that
asylum down. A lot of people said claim to play there. It's like the GPO in 1916. You know, the amount of people who put their name that they played in the asylum. You know, the asylum was shit, and then me, Dilly, and Warren came. Paul, the manager, heavy, sort of brought us all together and said the rest. He wanted to do something, and like it literally changed from being like maybe 150 people for the first time in the whole evening. Like, you know, the first time I played there, to like, you know, 3-4 weeks later, they were turning away 1,000 people.
So it was the golden era of the asylum, basically.
Yeah, when I arrived. Yeah.
But do you think though, like I remember hearing stories of like gangland involvement?
Yes, it would have been. Yes.
Was it as wild as it's made out to be when people talk about it now?
Well, I never seen it because I just was in the DJ box. I was just a music man. The people didn't even know what I looked like. In a lot of times, police. I'd be walking up the back stairs to have a cigarette or something like that, and the people think I was a undercover police, and I'm like, look over there, he's undercover police, and all, you know. But though, like, wherever there's money being made or potential money being made, gangland will be drawn to it. Look, the factory in, you know, in Manchester and all, you know, factory, you know, the venue,
the Hacienda.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Factory Records.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. You know. Yeah. I do now. Anyway. Yeah.
But
sack that researcher there. But yeah, you know, and that's what brought down. Even though that was like, you know, anywhere where there's people can get in here and make cheap book, you know, or whatever type of thing, and then what follows money is violence. Yeah. So whether drugs or decks of cards or snuff or whatever down the years, or rum, there'll always be people there trying to cash in on that. So it's nothing new, like, really, you know, like there's drugs in every town and village in this country, and every pub in this country, and every office in this country, and like, I mean, there's no dance music being played. Yeah, you know what I'm saying to you? Like,
it's just because it's something to do.
That's the way it's developed. Yeah, you know.
Would there have been many drug deaths in the asylum or in around linked?
None
whatsoever.
None whatsoever. The first death, and we're talking like minute like percentages here. Like, I mean, there's research recently of like something like 80 billion people over 20 years have taken ecstasy. Like, they've had, like, you know, 0.00001% or something like that. And these are people who had pre conditions, like, you know, maybe a weak heart they didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been playing a hurling match and they could.
So what happened with the asylum if it was such a golden era that you ended up coming to leave it?
Basically, it was starting to get I don't know, I was getting tired. It was just like, it's not getting a bit more nasty of a feel in the place, you know. It's just I never remember the actual. Basically, I just said I'm not coming in next week to do it and play, and I made up my mind, and it wasn't because I was pursuing great. I can't remember what the reason was. And because I started getting a few gigs in the Ormond, you know, that they were like in bigger. I was coming overground. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was coming like out from the store, if you like, and up into, like, you know, where maybe a bigger, you know, the whole dance scene was starting to, you know, as I said, like, from being nowhere to all of a sudden. I think I even remember hearing like 38 songs or something one week in the UK charts were dance songs, out the top 40.
Yeah, okay.
38, you know, before that, like 2 years before that, you know, there was no such thing as a dance song getting into the chart. So there's more opportunities, and it was like clean your reputation, because you get so associated wrongly with you know,
the rougher end of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. It was nothing to do with me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm quite respectable and I'm educated and I speak well and I wouldn't do anybody any harm, you know. But it's just I love the music, you know, and putting it out there, you know. So
talk to me about the Ormond then.
Yeah, well, that was basically the next step. So the asylum closed. There was legal stuff, I think, as well. That's why the asylum closed down, because there were a few directors of the asylum, like investors, if you like, you know, presented, and they didn't even work there and like that. They basically invested at the beginning when Paul took it over, the lease, and they probably gave a few quid. They owned 10-20%, and also went into like making thousands. You know, they didn't. These were people who were never even in the place. You know, but they were all charged with allowing a venue to be run where drugs would be taken, right? And they were all convicted. There was 8 of them. They got 6 months each. It was shocking. Like, what evidence? You know, how could you do that? You know what I mean? That's like me. You know, someone in Tesco, someone taking a line of coke and walking into Tesco, and then saying, you know, you're facilitating. You know, you don't know what people put in their bodies where they get into the place. You know, it's ridiculous. You know. So anyway, it was just like make up anything. You know, you look back and you think, what a waste of time and effort and money and all this by the police force and, you know, the law to appease their overlords in the Catholic Church, you know. like at the same time we're covering up for all that evil stuff they were doing. So so that was all starting to happen, and like I sort of wanted to get away from all that, you know. It was, and then what happened was the Nikolai thing, you know, the tune, Ready to Flow. Obviously, I broke that in the Asylum, and nobody could get it, and everybody wanted it, and I had a few copies. And but Mark hadn't apparently seen one of them hanging up in that Outlaw Records, you know, for offers. And your man told him the story about me, and he probably heard a lot on the grapevine about me. And he contacted me and said, would you be interested in doing a few gigs, you know, like for MCD. He was like, you know, the dance wing of MCD, because the Red Records, Dennis had bought it over. And so this was like a new opportunity for me, you know, to have way, like, you know, to clean my name, if you like, you know. Like I remember playing with Dean Thatcher, me and Dean Thatcher and Mark having it in the Tivoli. That was the first gig I did with Mark, you know, like Dean Thatcher. Like, you do want the connection there. But anyway, I felt I could, you know, like
go legit, kind of.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, if you like, yeah, almost, yeah. The Ormond, I got a gig in around the time the Sound Crowd did a famous gig there, one of the first gigs in the Ormond, and I did the Grid, you know, Swamp Thing. Remember that was a sort of hit in the chart.
Banjo thingy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, cheesy as hell, you know. Good, great drive up the banjo bit was like, you know, not good. Yeah, not good at all. Hillbilly Joe, what's that song? Cotton Eye Joe. Yeah, there was a, you know, a wave of, as there is, you know, of thing, that means tree, you know. So I was asked to play with them, and that's what I think the song got into charts and on. I was like, I'm playing with an act.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. I played with Carl Cox in the Asylum. Look at him now, you know what I mean? The Prodigy were in the Asylum, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
have you ever found yourself in any strange situations with people who've blown up since, like the Prodigy, Carl Cox?
Yeah, and I know Carl very well. Like, you know, from down the years, played with him a lot. You know, from this Asylum to Metroland, the Cyclones on, and then I played with him all over the country. Basically, we played him at the Point Depot, and then the Waterfront and the Ormond, and but basically, Mark, who would have a lot of contact. Me and Mark were good friends, and it's like a DJ tag team almost at just after the Asylum, the Waterfront days. But Mark would have been like had a lot more contacts and sort of in the wider world, and so. When anytime Cox came to town, type of thing, you know, Mark, me would meet him, you know,
after him, yeah.
And you know, like I just used to sit beside him when he was on the desk, just chatting to him the whole time with the Point Depot or the SFX or anything like that, and saying, "What's that tune?" Like every time he always used to give me tunes. He said, "Yeah, no problem." You know, just like I just kept him smoking, put it that way, the whole time. But he was a smashing guy. Like, we were really delighted for his success. You know, he did the right thing, I think. Sort of pulling away from breakbeat, because he was a breakbeat.
Course, yeah.
You know, he sort of got into that basement record, sort of half electro, half, so we say, four to the floor beat mixed with a breakbeat, sort of slightly techie, sort of breakbeat, Jack Smooth, people like this, you know, basement records. But that he was into that type of thing, and then he had the whole. He had a bad night one night with you know the. I know the story about DJ Rap. He was playing a gig in London, and DJ Rap, it was like a big rave in London, but DJ Rap was on, and she was great. She's a brilliant DJ, you know what I mean? Like, she was playing, and she played that song, you know, that Mr. Kirk, your son is dead. Do you have a son named Robert? Yeah, he's dead. He died of an overdose. You know, some mad Belgian Gabba, I can't remember, something town, like city town or something like that. I personally think it's shit. I mean, but it's a classic. I think man, what's his name? The Horrorist, is that, you know, had the song here. He might be something to do with it. I'm not into that scary type of, no, I like to be uplifted and, you know, like happy dotty. But so she played that tune, right? And but Cox, she didn't know that somebody had actually overdosed and died in the venue earlier that night. And Cox heard that, and he said, I have to get away from this thing. It was getting a bit too intense for him. Maybe he wanted a different sound, and that's when he started moving towards, you know, like maybe a more housey sound initially, sort of slightly trancey stuff, positive. So away from the break, it was sort of stuff we would have been playing, and then but before. So and then he moved away from it, and then that's around that time where he would have started playing, you know, Frankfurt beats and you know stuff like No Respect and all quality German stuff, you know, really top class stuff, you know, the golden era of that type of sound, even in the Asylum, IQ Records and all. So musically, I'd have a lot in common with Carl back then, and so like there wouldn't be a gig where he'd be playing where, like, I mean, I'd be talking to one night and I wouldn't walk out with 3 of the records that he played that night, you know what I mean? Like an absolute gem, because he'd have another copy at home, no problem, you know.
Of course. So you're at this period now where you're gigging in the Ormond and then obviously doing huge gigs like in the Point Depot and stuff like that. That kind of would have been around, say, like when trance would have entered the charts, and you would have had things like DJ Quicksilver and just things like that, kind of that
Red Five and
that legitimised it more with the public. Could you feel that in the clubs, that like the commercial?
The crowds were getting bigger, and it was more like you became more of a star and a celebrity, with the people, like because I was ahead of the game, obviously, cause I had a cool name and associate. People could associate things,
and you had kind of like a following built up from the tapes and everything.
Exactly, it was all just the perfect storm, and then I brought out my first single in '96, was it, something like that, to Pride, going into the Irish chart, Nikolai going to the top 10 in the Irish, it's all like, this was like, like all of a sudden, people look up and go, he's famous. You know what I mean? And you start to believe it. But
you were like the people that you were playing in support of now. You had records in shops and people think. How did the first track Pride come about?
Okay, well, basically I was hanging around Mark at the time. They had SoundCloud and all this type of thing going on with Timmy, Mr. Spring, Tim Hannigan, my good friend now. But basically, at the time I would have been known as a music man, like a proper DJ. Some people are like producers who end up in I was a DJ, DJ. But anyway, Mark said, you should come out to the studio someday out in Bray, see how it's made. So I went out, it was great. And like I was watching Timmy, as he was making, chatting to him and all this stuff. So I would have been on an equal par with them, do you know what I mean? I wasn't looking up to them, like I had my opinions, and like I was as famous as they were. So I looked at it as like, they should listen to me and respect what I say as much as I would respect what they've achieved, So I just got chatting with Timmy, and I thought Mark was reading the paper or something like that. And I think Timmy, sensed and got excited by the passion I had for, change that bit. Did you do that? It wasn't in my tune. Like, there were SoundCloud tunes that were being remixed. I mean,
you were almost kind of like an executive producer, almost.
Yeah, free. Like I was just there for, like enjoying it. The type of way, and I just was fascinated by Timmy. Like I had no ambitions to, like, he had been years at these computers and, like wires and, all this type of thing. And I was just like a DJ playing records. That's what was my thing, But anyway, I was just fascinated. He'd amazing watching him, changing sounds and playing things on the keyboard and samples. And like you'd hear things, and all of a sudden you're saying, like, I'm actually here producing a record with someone. And I had as much input as he has, And he's like, and I think I maybe energized and, like got Timmy, excited, that type of way, because I think maybe he had tended to be on his own, making a lot of SoundCloud stuff. Mark would be more of a, looking after the, like publicity, marketing, this selling, the whole type of thing, the back office, if you like, type of stuff. But so maybe Timmy like wouldn't have had as much dance floor experience and dealing with crowds and know what works and what doesn't work, type of thing. Like, so it would have been a bit aloof, almost, if you like, from standoffish, because he'd be quite shy and type of thing as well, like, and so it was just a good combination. I found like that, the SoundCloud easy does that. I don't know whether that would have been the first track that they were Timmy was remixing it, and I was out there that day, and like I had as much input as anybody had, like that. I didn't get credited on it when it was released, that type of thing. But the mix I did with Timmy, like, was the best one, without a doubt. What I mean? Like,
so talk to me about Pride.
Well, basically, so that happened first, and then I went out. I was there. I used to be out there twice, 3 times a week on my own with Timmy, and I just loved it. It was great, But one day we made a tune in my name, if you like, and I was like, deadly, like, but so he said, take it home and have a listen to it. I was just so excited, but I had to listen to it, and I thought it was the best thing ever, and, but we went back out to 2 days later, and he said, do you want to try and make something else now? And so we made it, and we made Pride, basically, and the B-side Strength, which I actually think is a better song. But, and then next week I was in town in Abbey Dis, and Billy Murray pulled me. He said, I heard you have to make the tune out in the studio, Timmy. I said, yeah. He says, would you be interested in letting me put it out? I'm starting a new record label, Abbey Dance. If I like it, can I, license of it and to put out on label? I went, yeah, no problem. Like, didn't know what to do with it anyway, But so yeah, he liked it, and then he put it out in 500 white labels or something like that, So it was. And just with the name wrote on it, Tara and Billy were late with a pen writing the name of it, because I remember the box of them came into Abbey Discs, a proud moment again, milestone like that, and like 2 days later they were gone.
Wow.
And Billy was like,
press up more.
And next thing I'm meeting with Sony's head offices on the keys, about like, marketing and all this type of thing, like, so like, within 3 weeks we were in the top 10, like a video made, and I was.
So Abbey Dance was like a subsidiary of Sony in Ireland?
No, to take it to a new level.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
the distribution end of things. You with me?
Yeah, of course.
So it was like we brought into these suits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're just like, yeah, man, we're down with the kids and all this type of thing. You know, but they weren't. You know,
of course.
they are, but record executives, as they call them, but things like that. You know, to me, it was all just, you know, just got being carried along, you know, on a wave. You know, of I just went with it. You know, if you want to do it, go for it. But yeah, so anyway, we ended up between the marketing or the distribution deal, and then just like everything coming together at the same time. I went into the Irish top 10. First Irish dance record to ever go into the top 10 in Ireland. By the way, Nikolai had gone top 10, but I wasn't Irish. Timmy remixed it, but it was the original that people wanted. You know, that to get, but because Mark had licensed it after. You know,
after the blown up on a foreign level.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was the common thing to do. You had so many UK labels in later years, like in the 90s and noughties, that
yeah,
licensed Italian
Manifesto,
tracks.
yeah, totally. Yeah,
Nucleus and all these things like that.
Oh, double F, double R. That's going back even earlier than that, you know. But so yeah, that's where all this Jules and all these people got jobs as A&R men for because they were the sound of the tracks. They seen what was working on the floors and they tipped off, you know, the suits.
Of course, interesting.
The compilation albums came out, and then that's where the money was, in the compilation albums. You know.
So we're now, say, up to the late 90s, and perhaps kind of once the noughties turned, dance music kind of. It's not that it wasn't cool anymore, but it wasn't as commercial as it was.
It wasn't fresh. And there was a lot of division, both socially, musically, snobbery is that, you know, it's just like, you know, people say, I'm not going to go into a club that they play music like that because I'm posher than that. Even their heads, like, even though they could be, you know, so you had to split into like prog house heads, you know, thought they were cooler, and it was more laid back, you know, like background music, almost like, you know, it's all more about the clothes. They had all Moschettinos and all these labels, and those jeans were £100 and all, because that label is clothes label is you know, hot in some magazine for like a week, you know, the type of way.
Did you notice?
You were part of that as well yourself, as well, you know, you were at the forefront of the fashion revolution.
Did you notice a downturn in the amount of gigs you were doing at this stage around the country?
I was always busy because I was all over the country, I had residencies everywhere, too many fucking gigs, to be honest with you, like, it was the driving. But anyway, wasn't that, it was, I think alcohol started becoming more prominent in the clubs. People like who were like at the forefront in the early 90s and the whole lot of everything started getting married, having kids, saying, I'm too old for this, you know, the good old days. It was all, you know, like I only had this conversation with someone yesterday. They're saying, on my new Facebook artist page, you know, but about discussing, you saying, the good old days. I remember this, I posted one of my mixes from the Asylum. And I said, I wish it was like that now, you know. I said, like, you know, every day is a good day for me, you know what I mean? It's just like, you make it what it is, you know. Like, the music is much better now, you know what I mean? It's what's missing is like the honeymoon period, you know, the revolution that was happening then. There's so much other things like taken from people's time now, and you know, it's so disposable now, music as well. Completely. It's stuff like that.
Here you are, still paying €160.
Yeah, I know, but that's you see, that's an addiction that I was born with. It was a joy. I have no control over whatsoever. It just takes over. But no, I just love it. It's, I don't know. I am very competitive. I always want to be and have the best of everything.
This was something I want to ask you about. One of the things that's kind of quite infamous with you is that you would go into Abbey Discs, and if Billy pulled a track out and you said, "That's deadly, how many copies have you got?" And if he said 6 copies, you'd buy all 6. Is that true?
Yes, there is a hidden truth. I wouldn't ask him, I'd just buy them. Basically, you see, I would never get cash off Billy. I was selling like 500 cassettes a week. I had 4 of my friends working round the clock, you know, copying cassettes, you know, on high speed, and everything. But the deal was sell a tape, get a credit, swap, no problem. So like Billy could be owing me 2,000 tunes. So if I went in and said, I'll take that compilation CD, I'll take 10 of them, I'll be getting presents and stuff for everybody and all that. Just, he'd be delighted to get, like, I'd walk out, you'd need, like, you know, a van waiting outside to take out some of this.
So he was making so much money off your tapes.
Out the tapes, and like, it wasn't, he didn't have to hand over the cash, you know, he's getting the money up front. So,
and it's not like you had to tell the taxman this either.
I'd walk out Abbey Disc with 312 inches.
Wow.
On a Friday evening. Everything was kept for me. You know, that's how like, I mean, I was, you know, the man. Like,
if you had a bag in Abbey Discs back in the day, you were somebody because they kept stuff for you. But whereas with you, it was almost like you were.
No, I was in the back room, around the back. It wasn't.
You had a room as opposed to a bag.
No. I always went through all those bags with people's names.
I actually told somebody recently a story about how you got me a copy of a vinyl. I remember you ringing me one day from Abbey Discs and saying, "Have you heard this new tune on Subliminal?" And it was Robbie Rivera's Funkatron. Now, this was
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago,
yeah,
like,
yeah. This was the John Power.
It's an absolute blower. This is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a copy for you. I robbed it out of Connor G's bag.
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
told Connor
yeah,
that
yeah.
story only last week, and he laughed about it. We were just saying
Yeah,
about
yeah.
like, you know, about your obsession and things like
I
that.
can't comment on it. I could still for the court.
But like, because my first experience of you would have been like, obviously I would have been going to Camolan, and that was kind of like my
Space,
club and
yeah.
Dawn and things like
Yeah.
that, Club Space. But I remember like my first sit down one-on-one with you was when I had won that Creamfields competition.
I do remember it well.
Backstage, and we were all in kind of the RTE dressing room thing, and I remember you asking me, what are you going to play today, what have you played? And I remember pulling these tracks out, and I can remember the look on your face and you saying to me, where are you getting these records?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
there was
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
on Bonsai that you didn't know about, the
you
airwave
talked,
tracks.
and you talked the talk as well, Darren, as well. Like, I mean, it was like the tunes you were talking about that I played that you liked, you know, over the
Yeah.
years of tapes or whatever, like that were the ones that I knew were the really special ones. You know, the people who asked, and
Yeah.
sometimes you'd be there going, yeah, it's just good, I play, you know, to keep it sweet, but these are the gems that
Yeah.
so you can't really respect their opinion on music as much as to go on with the sort of lower level stuff, but that's what, I know you're going to say airwave and things like that.
Yeah,
so
like,
look,
it was-
monster tunes back then and monster tunes today.
And I remember you saying to me, can you get me copies of that? And I was like,
Yeah.
and you were like, where are you getting these? I was like, I'm getting them on the internet. And this was the thing that not a lot of people are
Yeah, see, this is it. You know,
buying
I mean,
stuff from the
I'm
internet.
extremely lazy as well,
And that's how I was kind of
So-
feeding my collection, and that's how like I ended up DJing myself, because I had tunes nobody else had.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you just mentioned John Perry a minute ago, who was on, like, who had the
I heard we sat in Timmy's house going through the
picked those
mixes like
entries.
that, and yours were like 100 times better than everybody else. Like John and all, like, were there going, oh, that was grand, throw that, pick that one. It was a bit very laissez-faire way to, but I have to say, no, I'm not saying it.
Yeah, of course.
But it stood out a mile.
But there was tunes there like that I had gotten from Italy and that I'd gotten from all over that weren't available in shops
Yeah,
at the time.
I didn't even have
and that was like, even
but
like
I had
you,
to have them.
earlier in your career, you kind of like, it's having the stuff that nobody else has.
Yeah,
that makes you
that
stand out,
made
you
me,
know.
yeah, big time.
Nowadays, you can just, anybody can download shite.
Yeah. But you don't ever actually own a tune unless you own it on vinyl, in my opinion. You know?
Okay. But this was the thing, you know. This was how we kind of became friends. And,
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
and it was through a mutual love.
You had
thing.
something I wanted, and I had something you wanted. You know, a leg up, and vice versa. You
Exactly,
know?
and like
You
always,
keep me at the top, and I'll keep the ladder down if you like.
I always tell people that, like, you looked after me a lot in the early days. Like, you got me a lot of gigs, introduced me to a lot of influential and important people. You know, like I wouldn't have
Still
played,
do.
I wouldn't have played in the Temple Theatre in Dublin a number of times had it not been for you. And you gave me up to some of your set time. Do you know, I can remember. I know the Temple reunion is tonight. Jay Pigeon's home.
I'm actually going to be making
You're
a
gonna go.
in there.
And I remember Jay walking into the Temple Theatre one time, into the main room. Jay, of course, now managing all manner of stars.
This was a Valentine's night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a Valentine's Day massacre thing or something. I remember walking in and you said, here, do you want to play for half an hour at the start? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I remember Jay Pigeon walking and looking at me going, what are you doing playing here? And I was like, I don't know, talk to Rob. Like, you were just, and you were standing behind me, and I was like, this is amazing. And like,
And when Panama Jackson New Year's Eve down in Castle Bar,
sessions over Sister Bliss and things like that. Like, so yeah, I owe you a lot. Like, and I always tell people, and I'd always credit you with that. But like, I have a very completist nature, as in, like, I collect trainers of over 100 pairs of trainers, and if I see something, it might be something that I mightn't necessarily need, but I want it and I have to have it.
You want to be the best of that.
And I've been like that all my life. Like, I've been like that with baseball caps.
Yeah.
I never wore baseball caps, but I had a huge collection for some reason because I love the Chicago Bulls. I was like that with vinyl for a long time. And then, of course, like, buying vinyl kind of fell off for me a little bit, but not with you ever, because obviously you're still doing it and still paying massive money. But my completist nature kind of tends to be about a variety of things in my life, or whatever I'm into. And like, I'm still into the music.
Into the social side of the, if you don't, of the dance scene, whereas, like, I mean,
for you, it's a way of life.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, I've no choice. If I never got another gig in the morning type of thing, I'm still here, like, you know, melting, indulging in my music and thinking about this and hearing things. I have to have that, even though I never, like, you know, DJ'd out again. I never judged my success by the amount of gigs or money I made. It was always just about, you know, pushing myself musically to get better and better and better and better. And like, last time, I don't know, say 7-10 years, like, I mean, like, I've realised and accepted that I do have a talent for it. Before it was just like, I could just mix records well, and but now it's like, you know I have a special talent in music. It's just like, I don't need anybody with me when I'm in my studio. So I'm happy on my own, just thinking, what have I done that with that? And obviously new technology, CDJs and stuff, allows me to, you know, like, experiment with things, like, and, you know, and the results are, like, mind-blowing.
Something you mentioned to me early in this chat is that you said, like, the best mix is the one you don't hear. And I remember a friend of mine once said that to me about you. He said the thing about Pressure was he was the first of those Irish DJs that mixed the way kind of Sasha was regarded, as in, it was like the songs, there was no link between them, it was just all one thing. And I always remember,
it wasn't Mick Walsh's job down on sides, you know what I mean? It was just like, with the vocally piano tunes slaughtered and all together. It was like, you know, I don't know, it's just
something
like,
you said to me. I remember one time you said that, like, you might get the best tune of the current time. Like you might get that and go, oh, that's my record of the year. I love that. And you could have 2 gigs coming up that week, but you might not play that track for a couple of months because you don't have a mix for it.
Perfected for it.
That was the thing that always stuck with me with you. It wasn't that like whereas I'd get a record and go, oh geez, I have a gig this week, I can't wait to drop this. But it could be it could be the best record in the world, but you wouldn't play it until you had a perfect mix.
And I had a row with you over this. I remember our first ever row, our first lovers tip was over playing at the Temple Theatre. I was trying to explain don't just pick the big tunes, just banging tunes the early on. Because
we're playing Speedy J, pitch down to
and I'll never forget it. It turned into an international incident. But
you can't
Hazel and I was saying, you should let him play. He's going, man. I said, no, I'm trying to help. And
I remember you were like,
he doesn't want your fucking help.
What are you playing? He was like, what are you playing? What's that tune? I need that tune. And that was the thing, because you didn't know what it was, but you were kind of not so much mad at me, but you were like, going, look, it's too early. Don't be banging.
Speedy J. Oh, absolutely.
But
it was a milestone. But it was a milestone. I saw. When I heard it, I was there going, this is the next level where I want to go, musically.
And I will take credit for introducing you to a lot of techno music.
Absolutely. You and Bacotto, I would have found, no, seriously. I would have been more trance at the time, because quality stuff, I was playing a mix of, but I would have been a bit more afraid to go a bit harder, that way that was the inferiority complex to me at the time. But I remember just Pat O'Keefe saying, come down to the Temple one night, and Bacotto was deadly, and I came down there, the mixing was shit, type of thing, but the tunes. It was just that moment when the light bulb went on. He's playing that's a hard bit. I love it. The crowd are going mad for it. And I would have been afraid to play a song that had that bit in it, before. But now imagine that all those tunes mixed with my expertise on them like that. This is where I want to go, and that's where it started for me. And where I felt more musically free and accomplished, and So yeah, absolutely, Darren. Yeah, the Speedy J thing, definitely. I think the Frank Biazzi, Turbulence, and things, Animal Chilled,
proper big room kind of techno.
Yeah, but so cool. Yeah, it's something that you
either have it or you don't.
Yeah, but your granny's not going to be singing along to it.
Of course. So, let's just look at, say, modern day and the way dance music has gone now. Kind of EDM blew up in the late noughties, we'll say, and
still alive. Unfortunately,
but a lot of kind of tech house has replaced it in a way. A lot of people shuffling and stuff like this, and a lot of DJs that would have been quite underground, like the Hot Creations lads, and
Minimalist crew.
They've kind of come to the forefront and are almost just they're popular now, and they're almost uncool because they're so popular.
It's the old thing, isn't it? That if it's popular, it can't be cool. And what was once not popular, it was cool and underground. A bit of success, and it's Faithless are a good example. I always think they're a brilliant band. They make wonderful music. They have loads of great tunes over the years. But the minute Insomnia went to #1 in the UK, if you said someone after that, I love that new Faithless tune, after, they go, don't play, that's too commercial. That type of way. It's just but the tunes people are missing out on, God is a DJ. I'll just say it's Faithless example, We Come One, things like that. These are brilliant tunes, and we all know, can't play that.
Just because they're in the charts.
The Cure, the Love Cats, they were so underground before that. They're so cool, and I wanted to be Robert Smith, and type of thing, and got Heaven, and then they come out with the Love Cats, and it went into the charts in the UK, and it was what's going on? The world's gone mad,
How do you feel though when you see kind of the kind of music now that's popular in terms of, just say going back to the Swedish House Mafia area, when they were so big around,
when they were good. When they were, because they were brilliant when they first came out. Eric Pride's. I know,
of course.
Yeah,
and even still under Pride guys and stuff like that. Ceres D. Still fantastic music.
Yeah, and Stephen Gallo, people like that. That was you just buy the stuff blind. That Pride, yourself. Every time I hear someone playing Deadly Tune, I'd ask someone, what's Pride? It was a Pride the label thing.
I'm talking more the chart crossovers with the likes of One, Don't You Worry, Child, and stuff like
that. When they came after that, they were brilliant, but they went shit. That type of way.
When it turned into that stadium
they turned into EDM. You know what I mean? It was just became it just came with money. The stuff was really credible before. If they had got that success with the early Pride type of stuff, Stephen Gallo and all.
That's kind of pretty much why Steve left the setup, because he wanted to be more underground, and the other two didn't. Axel and Grosso went on and became a duo themselves. And they're obviously reuniting for a tour next year again, make a few quid in that.
As if they need it, what I mean?
But how did you feel about that movement? Were you kind of still glad that dance music was kind of to the fore commercially, or were you kind of...
No, I tell you, where I started to get more confident, and I started to say to myself, I was coming with a new girlfriend, we were listening to different music, and we were enjoying this more. Exploring my innermost thoughts of like, you know, down-tempo, so uncle stuff, you know, DJ Shadow, you know, that type of more down-tempo breaks.
Trip hop kind of gear.
Trip hop, but maybe a bit more at the pumpier end of trip hop, you know, like, but not to play in clubs. And that became a joy. It was listening to this type of music with my girlfriend. It was like gigs going out playing stuff that, you know, we were pretty pissed off listening to, you know, like they became a nuisance rather than something to look forward to, you know, and they got in the way of enjoying the other music, getting a set ready with music that you know inside out. And beside you, it was like the 100 best records you've ever heard in your life, the coolest record that you've ever heard in your life. Just there, sitting there going, I want to listen to them, you know. So basically, that's when I started saying, I'd rather not do these gigs. I'd rather be staying here. You know, I don't need, you know, I don't need the money. I don't need the, you know, the exposure. I don't need like to feed an ego or anything like that. This stuff is getting in the way of my enjoying music, and that's what it's all about, enjoying the music. And eventually I started, you know, like saying no to gigs, you know, before it's almost like you accept everything. It was almost like a sign of success. I'm busy, I'm playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But you weren't playing music that you wanted to play.
Yeah, now you said it, you know. I was playing music just to, you know, it was almost like to prove to other people that, you know, like...
Yeah, I experienced that myself, because a lot of the gigs I was getting were more kind of like of a trancey kind of hard housey vein, whereas I wasn't into that music.
Shame on you for the hard house.
And it was kind of, well, the buckets were there and I wanted to be busy.
Yeah,
you know,
no, I never took the devil's coin, the hard house.
It was just one of those things, well, like I never played the music, I never played hard house, but I meant like in support of hard house DJs. So you were supporting Lashes, you were supporting the Tidy Boys and things like that.
Yeah, with a hard bag maybe, as opposed to hard house.
Exactly, the harder end of stuff that I was into. Jeez, I never played hard house ever. I'm probably the only DJ from Wexford that never did.
Yeah,
no, we were friends at this stage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we both hated.
But what I'm saying is, it was the spectrum that the gigs. It was the vein that the gigs I was taking were in, and it kind of killed my love of gigging because I wasn't getting.
You're running to stay stand still as a woman. You weren't getting a chance to go on. You know, later on after. It was just like, you know, that's what your love was.
And it was just kind of the harder end of what you thought would suit of your collection. But like it's like as you said, I've 100 records at home there that are way better than any of these. I just can't play them because it doesn't suit that gig. You know,
because the promoter come out and say, "Oi." You know what I mean? Like, I won't book him again. Sorry, I won't book him again. You know, you could be playing a brilliant tune. You know, I had an experience down in I think the Wise Guys in Tullamore. Is that the name of the place? Yeah. But anyway, it was fairly popular place. You know, but I got booked to play there, and like the Cabinet and stuff, and the hard house heads were played in there. And I went down and I had some great new music that I wanted to play. Like, and I started off with, you know, with a housey, but I was pumping, driving. It was real. That was times that I wanted to play. I remember it was only on 15 minutes, and like the owner came out, he's a bugger, like, you know, we know nothing about fucking music, you know. But I was saying, no, that's not what we had here last week, you know, it's like, I said, don't fucking tell me what to play, you know. He said, you know, DJ Zoe, like, this type of thing, you know, this was the type of level people are at, you know, and it's just like, what am I doing, man? You know what I mean? These people are imbeciles, you know what I mean? Like,
and really, I can see why it just does kill your passion.
Eventually, and it was the best thing ever. The first time I decided, I said, I don't care if I never DJ out again in my whole life. He said, the freedom to just say, like, you know, I'm happy to make CDs here, or chill out and ambient stuff that I love, you know, and can be happy for myself and, you know, my friend or my girlfriend or whatever, you know, but and that's how I ended up getting a job in RTE, you know, in 2FM, like, you know,
the monthly mix.
Yeah, for 11 years now.
You said to me that you don't truly own a track until you have it on vinyl, so I'm assuming you're not a fan of the availability and accessibility of the download. Yes and no. Okay, just basically, it opens up loads of. Obviously, I have CDJs and stuff like that, and I, you know, it's amazing. Like, you know, the way it opened up music to what, whereas a tune that you maybe wouldn't have bought before because it was £7 and you mightn't be that fond of it, but there's a good bit in it. You could start just getting it for nothing and manipulating that bit, you know, yourself, and just sort of making something out of it and using it in one of the ambient things I was making, chill outs, and it just opened up that, like, so it made all that stuff more accessible. But I went too far. So that's probably the best thing to say. Whereas it's like, you know, it's just, oh, that's not tune. My whole life I've been running from people trying to find out what's in my record box, the names of it. That's why I remember you giving me a roll of stickers to put.
Yeah, that was the only talking about the man behind the stickers, you know. Cause, you know,
yeah, you used to have a load of the stickers. But I'll tell you, it was
the best thing I ever done, because, like, I mean, 80% of what people hear and say old school gigs now are tunes that I dropped, type of thing. But my legacy has been raped and pillaged by people who weren't even born at the time. They know nothing about the atmosphere. It's because like a monkey could go on and play Nikolai or something like that. Doesn't make it like
how it was done.
Yeah, when it was done, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was 25, 26 years ago. People were like 2 years of age and they're saying, "Oh, I don't like that." Like, what were you doing 24 years ago? You know, but this was ground.
Even back then, if people wanted to know the name, they couldn't because, like I said, you had stickers at the video shops covering the names. And I remember you giving me a rolling and this was your thing.
Because you know, you got some discovery yourself. Like, I mean, why did you spend all this time like just happen to say that might actually work and type of thing, and then getting it, and then having the balls to go and play it out and like take the chance on it and getting a great response, and then somebody just comes in along and just takes away all that work for nothing like that, and then plays it on pirate radio stations, their mates, everybody type thing, and people are pissed off listening to it within a couple of weeks. So you drop it in the club in 2 weeks' time, and they're there going, "Oh, that old thing," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the set is like this tune, check it, you know what I mean? Along with the, you know, obviously my ability as a mixer and my fear of failure and my intelligence as a person, like, you know, to like sort of have a vision and artistic creativity. I always thought like my sort of standing alone away from the pack and saying, "These are my tunes," and I'm putting stickers on to stop yous copying me, you know, because yous don't know what yous like. And they say, "He's getting away with that shit," you know what I mean? Just copy him, and then, you know, we'll get the same level of success and fame. But it don't work like that, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you need a presence and a belief of what you're doing and everything. But so yeah, like often copied, never equal. That's the way I look at my DJ career.
But if you had to put an estimate on how many tapes you've moved over the years.
Good question. I have actually thought about it. I don't know, 250,000.
Really?
Yeah. Like there's things like the Cyclones on. I would have sold like 50, 60,000 copies of over the years. You know.
Well, Billy, but you were some
like,
gigs.
no problem. You know,
out of Abbey Discs as well, then, where you got your credits for.
Yeah. It was just like it was cash. It was like a Bitcoin.
Before
Bitcoin. Easily. You know what I mean? You're knocking out 500 in Abbey Discs, maybe 200 in Music Power, and then other shops selling clothes shops out in Bray and stuff like that, and then. At the gigs, you know, I could sell 300 or 400 in a night this time. Cyclone Zone, I'd walk in there with maybe 1,000 cassettes, you know, and leave it with none.
You mentioned like a couple of tracks over the course of the chat there, like the likes of Nikolai and stuff. If you think you had to choose one track to define yourself as a DJ, would you look to like say Gary Newman from the early days as one of your favourites, or in the like more so in the clubs? Would you choose for something that you think not something you think you're personally known for, but something you would personally choose? Because there's a lot of people.
It's a question I've been waiting for someone to ask me in interviews for 25 years. No one ever does, you know. Yeah, obviously, you would have to be the one who would. Yeah. When people say, "Oh, I was happy in our top 10," they're talking about tunes in the clubs and stuff like that. You know, like I've the best record collection in the country, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, so like a tune that was big in the Asylum or something like that. Like, isn't it coming to the record over the first 2,000 tracks of my top 2,000? You know, there's okay, you have to pick one. It's a horrible question.
It's the kind of thing that can change from day to day.
Well, for year to year, like when the Asylum era, it would have been Mirage Airborne and the IQ records of something magic and stuff. And for take 3 or 4 years, that was my favourite tune. But then, like something else had happened, and it doesn't not necessarily the success of the tune on the floor. It might have been the most popular tune.
Just something
for me,
something you define. Something that defines you.
Jam and Spoon, Follow Me. Apart from the bit after the break where it speeds up the BPMs, it had to just continued back. After the breakdown, the way they came to the breakdown, with it sounds so fresh even today. Instead of the stupid, you know, it speeds up. You spend the whole breakdown inching down the pitch from being in the green, you know, to like -4 or something, because it comes back in like, you know, at 100 beats a minute. It's just stupid and cheesy, but it was the first time I'd witnessed a piece of art in music. I have to say, really, just the breakdown, the whole build up at the beginning. It was just like, this is music for, you know, for eternity, you know.
Last question. Your DJ career is still ongoing. Like I said, you're on 2FM Monthly. You've got your Facebook fan page, which is thriving.
Yes,
just newly launched. Your DJ presenting your post.
Everything I touch thrives.
Posting all mixes and old famous tracks and things like that.
And as we're building through the years, there'll be new stuff coming in, new tunes and stuff, and remixes I've done at home here myself of tunes that are modern, of old tunes that, you know, I've done my own twist on them. Loads of stuff coming in.
I'm not going to ask how would you like to be remembered. I'll ask that if somebody had never heard of you, how would you like yourself and your DJ career to be described to them?
I was the start of dance music in this country. I set the level and the bar of accepting the level of quality of mixing and care and thought and presentation of presenting music as as they were made. If you know what I'm saying, to like that someone just didn't bang it in because they know the crowd will have this. You know what I mean? It was like this is a mix, this is a set, a journey, you know, from beginning to end. That I set the standards, basically, you know. And I did, I know I did, but I didn't set out to do that. It was only when, all of a sudden, when I realised why I was getting so popular. You start listening back, like, I mean, like I went to see, as you know, Chris Leaving last night in District 8, like that, and I just loved his set. It was brilliant, it was professional, it was a journey through techno, not bang, nice pace. It was like, if you just stayed with it at the beginning, like that, all of a sudden, it was just class, it was quality, it was driven by somebody who was passionate, who had a vision of what they wanted to present it, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and the crowd stayed with him, and it was brilliant, you know. That is like, that is what was my vision 25 years ago or something, you know. That was like, you know, obviously I hadn't got the technology to do what they can do now, but you know, that type of, you know, professionalism. Even if you don't like pressure, you know he's a professional, you know. That's it, you know. He gives a shit, you know. It's not about fame, it's not about money, it's not about, it's like, you know, just getting satisfaction, you know, from like knowing you were right when you hear the tune. This is what I miss most about the dance scene now that I had back then, was like where you could hear a tune and say, oh, I can't wait to drop this in the club on Saturday, to see the people playing new music, breaking new music every week, the Waterfront, Columbia Mills, that like, and just, you'd have a personal relationship with people in the crowd, you know, you see every week, and they'd be dancing, going, that's that, and then you say, wait and hear the next one, and they'd hear it, and they'd be like, oh, you know, that moment, you know, you can't put price on that, you know. That's just like, you know, I was right, I did a good job, you know what I mean, like, you know, and that's gone now. It's all like, you know, people having the balls and telling me what to fucking play. Like, I mean, there's nobody in this country who's qualified to tell me what to play musically, you know. Like, and that's insulting, actually, you know what I mean. Like, so promoters didn't say that to me now. I would just say, like, shove the gig up your arse, you know what I mean. Like, you want to book me? I know it's an old school gig. I'll play old school, but I'll play what my vision of it. I've not been told to play piano house or vocal house. You know, it's just like, you know, I don't need, it's just cheeky, you know what I mean.
So in short, you're someone who cared about it and stuck to their guns.
And a professional to the end. Yeah. Gave a shit, you know what I mean? Like, but it was all in homage of my passion for music that I can't control. You know what I mean? Even if I got a job in a bank tomorrow and 2 kids and a mortgage and like, it would just take me. I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? It would just be like, I'd miss it so much. You know, I always feel sorry for people. You know, like, say, he's mad. He's always, all he ever does is talk about music. You know, I always feel pity for them and say, you can't experience what me and other people who have passion for music experience when we hear it. You poor thing, you're missing out with so much, you know. So yeah, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've achieved, and it ain't over yet, as the man says. You know.